In this video, we're going to show how to set up the Sysjoint SV4401A handheld vector network analyzer to tune a duplexer. The duplexer we're going to use in the video is this mobile band reject duplexer from K&L, designed to operate in the low 300 MHz frequency range. We're using a band reject because the tuning process is really simple, just adjusting each of these cavities. And the focus of this video is mainly going to be on how to set up and interpret what you see on the VNA, not so much in what to actually do with tuning various types of duplexers. But based on the frequency range that's on the label here, where the low frequency is at 314.75, the high frequency is at 350.75, I'm going to set up the VNA to look between, say, 275 MHz to 400 MHz. That'll allow us to look at the effects on both the high side and low side of this duplexer. Now I've got the VNA set up with the N to SMA adapters and the included SMA cables, and I've got some adapters on the duplexer that make it easy for us to hook up. The first step in the process is to set up the frequency range and then run a calibration. So let's do that first. So we can see my unit is starting from a preset here. Let's first set up the frequency range. I'll go to Stimulus, Set Frequency, and we're going to use, you can either use start and stop or center and span. We're going to use start and stop in our example. So I hit the start frequency and set that to 275 MHz and the stop frequency of 400 MHz. And we hit back. Now I'm going to run the calibration to the end of the two SMA cables so that I take into account the loss of the cables when we're looking at the performance of the duplexer. Now, since we're going to apply all the calibration standards to the end of this cable, which is connected to port 1, I'm going to add the female-to-female bullet connector to the end of the cable connected to port 1. So now we can run through the calibration process. Let's hit back to get to the top menu, go to Cal, and I always hit Reset first to clear any calibration that might already be in there. And then we hit the Calibrate button. Now you'll notice there are 4 steps to calibration: open, short, load, and through. So we'll start with the open. The open is the one that just looks like a hollow SMA connector. We'll connect that up. And you could just leave it open, but this kind of shields everything. And then you hit open. And it runs through and does the measurement on the open. And then we just repeat that process now for the short. That's the one that looks like a shorted out SMA cable or connector. Hook that up there and touch short, and it'll run the short calibration. And then we'll put the load, which is the 50 ohm terminator. That's the one that looks a little bit taller here. That's our 50 ohm resistor. Connect that up here, hit load. And then finally we want to run the through calibration, and that's taking the end of the cable that's connected to port 2 and connecting it up to the end of the barrel, and then hitting through. So once that's completed, we simply hit done. It gives us the option then to save the calibration. I'm going to go to and hit more here to go to my second page. I'm going to save it in slot number 5. Let's prepare the rest of the setup on the analyzer first. We're only really going to need 2 traces. We're not going to need the trace 4, which is defaulting to the phase of S11, so we'll touch that to turn it off. We're also not going to use the Smith chart, so we'll turn off trace 3, which is configured as a Smith chart on S11. So the remaining 2 traces are a log mag of S11, which is going to give us the return loss looking into whatever port we connect that port 1 to. And the most important one really is trace number 2. That's the S21. That's essentially the insertion loss or the transmission coefficient. And that's going to tell us essentially the depth of the notch, and that's what we're adjusting when we're tuning the duplexer. Now I'm going to tune the high side cavities here on this unit here. So in order to do that, we're going to connect up port 1 to the antenna and port 2 to this high side connector. You could reverse those. It really wouldn't matter. The results would be the same. For the port that we're not using, I've added a 50 ohm terminator. So that's important as well. So terminate the port you're not using and connect up your VNA port 1 and 2 to the remaining 2 ports. The adjustments I'll be making on the duplexer are really just turning these adjustment screws on the cavities. They'll be a little bit off camera because I want to focus on the VNA, but those are the cavity screws that I'll be adjusting. Okay, so I've connected up port 1 to the antenna connector, port 2 to the high side connector. So now what we're seeing here, this is the insertion loss through the high side port. Ideally we would see one single deep notch here, but I'm seeing a couple of different notches. That tells us that these cavities are not all aligned. So that's what we're going to adjust. So we're going to make a couple of adjustments on the setup here. I've got marker 1 is already turned on. I'm going to use the little arrow keys here to move it to our desired frequency for the notch, which is 314.75. So if we take a look here, we should be able to get on it or pretty close. Let's see. Here, let's see. There's 314.75. So that's the point that we want to make the deepest in the notch. Now the other thing to note is that these 2 notches here are going right to the bottom of the screen, so they might actually be going deeper than we can see. So in order to really see the bottom of that notch, especially when we get them all lined up, I'm going to change the vertical scale on trace 2, and that's kind of shown over here. So you can see that's going from +10 to -70. So if we touch on hold on the trace 2, we can actually touch on scale. Instead of having 10 dB per division, let's make it 15 dB per division. And now I can actually see the bottom of these notches. So now let's just get this thing as close as we can. I'm going to just start adjusting these cavities, and we should see some of these notches move around. So let me start with the one on the right, and let's see which notch that winds up moving on us here. Okay, we see as I turn that in, this notch is coming in closer to where my marker 1 is. So we're going in the right direction. I want to get that notch so that it lines right up with that 1 marker. So I'm continuing to adjust that filter in and see if I can bring 1 down pretty deep. So I'm going to keep going here to see if I'm going past it. So I think I've gone past it now. So now I'm going to come back and kind of drive 1 down as far as I can. So I probably have that first cavity adjusted pretty close right now. Now we're down far enough that we're really looking at the noise floor of the instrument here. But let's see if we can get these other 2 notches kind of lined up close to where number 1 is, and then we'll see if we can do anything to look a little bit deeper with our analysis. Okay, so I'm going to the second cavity here. Let me adjust that one here, and it looks like I go pretty far with that just to kind of see. So it looks like I went past number 1 now, and let's kind of bring it back, and it looks like I've got 1 kind of going pretty deep now. So now I just need to bring this third cavity over, so let's do that as well. As we pull that one over, you see that's getting closer now. And now I got them all pretty close, I think, to driving 1 down pretty deep. Now there are some things we can do potentially to lower the noise floor here. If we can take a look, we see that this marker is kind of bouncing in the about 80 dB down or so. 80, there's 92, and sometimes we'll see it bounce around a little bit more. There's a -74, and that's because it's just looking at the noise floor of the VNA. So one way to drive that down is to change the IF bandwidth of the analyzer. So if we go back and back again and go to stimulus, the IF bandwidth is here. So the IF bandwidth right now is 6.25 kilohertz. To lower the noise floor, we want to go to a lower bandwidth setting. But keep in mind, the lower you go in the IF bandwidth, the slower the trace update will be. So let's start by just going down to, say, 1 kilohertz. So now I've changed it to 1 kilohertz, and now we can see the trace update is a little bit slower now, a little more sluggish. but I can also see that I'm driving down, pretty more consistently now, around -80 or below. At this point, you can tweak the cavities a little bit more to see if you can make that notch a little bit deeper. When you're up against the noise floor here, sometimes it's tough to know if you're really centered or not. And what I'll often do when I'm in that situation is I'll move a particular cavity on either side of that notch until I see it riding up the side of the filter, and then kind of pick a point, kind of equidistant on either side of the desired frequency, and then count how many turns of the slug it takes for me to move to there to be the same distance on the other side, and then split the difference and put the cavity there. And that usually gets you pretty close. So up to this point, we've been looking at the insertion loss and looking at the notch filter, which is what we've been trying to optimize. Now the other trace, trace 1, is showing me return loss, or it could also be shown as SWR. Now when we're looking at the high side, we're really interested in the SWR, return loss, at the high side frequency, which in this case is 350.75. So let's add a marker to add marker 2, and with let's move marker 2 to be at 350.75. So let's see, 350.75. So we can see at 350.75 the log mag of S11 is about -22.15 dB, which is really good. If you want to see that in SWR, we touch and hold that and go to Format and SWR. So now on marker 2, let's read the SWR is 1.17 to 1, and that's really good. So this tells us that we've got 85 or 90 dB of attenuation for the low side frequency, and the high side frequency is only exhibiting about a 1.17 to 1 SWR. Now since we're sitting at the noise floor when measuring the notch here for S21, one way to minimize the amount of variation we're getting from trace to trace is to increase the number of averages that we're doing. You can see down here at the bottom it says average is just 1, so we're getting a new measurement every time. So if we touch on average, and let's put in, say, 10 averages. Now the instrument's going to go through and actually collect, kind of behind the scenes, 10 acquisitions and average them all together, and then it will return back to making the measurements again, and then each new measurement is going to keep the last 10 in memory to do the averaging on. So it does kind of a running average of 10, but it has to collect that 10 acquisitions first. So that's what's going on when it says the data collection is happening here. The more averages you select, the longer it will take. So now let's let that average run, and we should see that the variation of the S21 value at the 1 marker level is not going to move quite as much. If you look very carefully, we can see that there's just very, very small variations. And we're seeing -86, -87 or so dB into that notch. Of course, you can optimize it and play with it a little bit more, but that's the basic steps to set up this SV4401A to measure a duplexer. Now for your particular duplexer, depending on what the split frequency is between the transmit and receive, or the high and low side, you may choose a completely different start and stop frequency. To me, I kind of like to look at a sweep that is the split frequency, maybe about half of that above and below. So in this particular case, the split was 36 megahertz, so I was looking a little less than 36 megahertz on either side in this case. Some amateur radio repeaters, the split is much smaller, so you might be looking at a much narrower span when you go do your measurements. But it's always a good idea just to set it up and look at it to be sure you can kind of see, the full depth of the notch as well as the passband. And then once you decide what frequency range you want, then you run through and do the calibration. Once you do the calibration, then it's just a matter of selecting the traces you want, putting the markers at the desired high and low frequencies, and just adjusting maybe the IF bandwidth to drive that notch down a little bit deeper, drive the noise floor down a little bit deeper, and make your measurements. So I hope this video helped you to set up your SV4401A to make measurements on a duplexer. Thanks again for watching.